What's up, sunshine? Happy Friday. I'm Coy Wire. We've got a big show today, so let's rise up and finish this week strong. We begin with the ceasefire deal reached by Israel and Hamas that will pause the war in Gaza and release Israeli hostages. Both Israelis and Palestinians celebrated the announcement of the deal, a bittersweet truce after 15 months of war with a heavy human toll. The ceasefire and hostage deal is expected to come into effect on Sunday, January 19th, and it's shaped into 3 phases. Now, Hamas and its allies are still holding 94 of the 251 people taken from Israel during its October 7th attack that killed more than 1,200 Israelis. As part of the first phase, 33 hostages are expected to be released, including soldiers, children, and anyone elderly or sick. In exchange, an undisclosed number of Palestinian prisoners will be released from Israel. The first phase of the deal and the pause in the fighting is expected to last 6 weeks. More hostages will be released in the second and third phases, but details and timelines are not yet set. The mediators of the deal, the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, have pledged that all 3 phases will be fully implemented. The agreement still needs to be approved by Israel's cabinet, which delayed its vote on the deal, which was supposed to take place yesterday. At the time of this recording, it was reportedly set to be approved today. See, some members of Israel's governing coalition have threatened to prevent the deal if Israel does not commit to return to war. They're concerned that Hamas could threaten Israel again, and they want them completely gone.
There's a ceasefire in Gaza and a deal to release some hostages and Palestinian prisoners. But does this mean an end to the war? Here's what the agreement will achieve and what it won't. Assuming it all goes into effect as planned, the people of Gaza will get a respite for the first time in over a year. 33 hostages are expected to go home in the first phase after 15 months of captivity. Israel will release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. The IDF will start withdrawing from cities. Palestinian civilians will be able to go home across Gaza, including the decimated north, and there will be a surge of humanitarian aid where living conditions are dire. But there are lots of things this ceasefire doesn't achieve. First of all, it's only going to last 42 days, and the second and third phases still have to be brokered. And there's a very real possibility the conflict could break out again. Netanyahu's under pressure from the right wing to keep attacking Hamas. Israeli troops are going to stay in Gaza for the time being. It also doesn't end fighting in the West Bank, where battles between Israel and militants have grown increasingly fierce. And it certainly isn't going to end the Israel-Palestinian conflict. A resolution to that fundamental issue is as elusive as ever.
Pop quiz hot shot. Carmine, a red coloring used in cosmetics and foods, isn't vegan because it contains natural acid from what? Eggs, honey, milk, or insects? Your answer here is insects. Cochineal insects have carminic acid in their scales, which are harvested, dried, and crushed into a solution to make the bright red natural food coloring. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration just banned the use of red dye number 3. It's an artificial dye in food, beverages, and medicines, and it's made from petroleum. That's right, fossil fuel in food. It's a synthetic color additive that creates a bright cherry red color, and for decades, scientists have known about its links to causing cancer in animals. CNN's Jacqueline Howard explains what it took for the FDA to ban the dye and how the changes will take effect.
What the FDA is doing specifically is revoking the authorization of red dye number 3 as a type of color additive. And this comes after a petition in 2022 called for the FDA to review the use of the substance, and it comes more than 30 years after scientists discovered links to cancer in animals. Now, what happens next? For manufacturers using red dye number 3 in food, they have until January 15th, 2027 to reformulate their products, and those using it in ingested medications have until January 18th, 2028. Some states like California have already banned this ingredient, but this is now a national ban. under the FDA. And this type of bright red dye, it's an artificial coloring. It's made from petroleum, and it's used in at least dozens of candies, foods, beverages. But some of the most popular brands either don't use it or have already stopped. Instead, they tend to use another ingredient, red dye number 40, which is considered a healthier alternative. However, there have been some health concerns with red dye number 40 too, and the state of California has banned it from foods and drinks sold in public schools. So we can expect more conversation in this space in the future.
If you ever put on a VR headset, you know that small screen can transport you to new virtual worlds in a way that no big screen could come close to. And it might have you feeling a little disoriented at first. Now, thanks to a study at Cornell University, we are finding out that the same goes for mice. Researchers there developed teeny tiny VR headsets for mice to allow researchers to study their brain activity as they navigate virtual obstacles and potential threats. The VR games aren't all fun and games. The research is giving scientists new insights into the study of Alzheimer's disease.
When they're in the goggles, it's very immersive, and it seems like they can really be tricked into thinking that this is a realistic situation.
A mouse running on a ball in a VR headset is doing more than just having a good time. It may actually be giving researchers insight into potential treatment for disorders like Alzheimer's disease. The headset, which was developed at Cornell University, allows researchers to study mice with Alzheimer's as they're navigating obstacles and potential threats.
We need to use a very powerful microscope and head fix Alzheimer's disease mouse underneath the microscope, and then put it in a situation where it can navigate an environment so that we can assess its spatial learning and memory.
After researchers increased blood flow to the mouse's brain, memory function improved. With the VR headset experiment, researchers can monitor brain activity to see how such a treatment could help Alzheimer's disease.
Even though an animal is head fixed, it can still navigate a virtual environment. So having a VR system is very enabling for translational neuroscience.
All right, everyone, it's almost time to bring this show home. Shout out to MC Squared STEM High School in Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you for this incredible swag, for all the love. And the lizard, did you make this? Is this a 3D printed lizard? This is incredible. Or is it a gecko? I don't know, but you rock. For today's story, getting a 10 out of 10, we go from gecko to goose. In need of a mountain rescue, a goose on the loose on frigid, snow-covered Mount Shasta in California. Made its way to 10,000 feet of elevation. Talk about goosebumps. U.S. Forest Service rangers couldn't believe it. They think this honker got up there with a bit of flying and some good old-fashioned web-toed snowshoes. They were a bit worried the goose might quack under the pressure of the cold and the elevation, so they gave it a snowmobile ride down the mountain and dropped it off at a local pond. Why don't you say we end this week with a bang? Cue that Friday music, Nader. Shout out to Gonzales Junior High School in Gonzales, Texas. Rise up. And to all our friends at Triton Academy in Camarillo, California. Triton up. Thank you for making us part of your day. I'll see you on Tuesday. Hope you have an awesome Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday. We have an extra day to go out and make someone smile this weekend. You are more powerful than you know. It's been a blessing to spend this week with you.